My name is David Latas. I am a professor at the Hospitality School in Valderobres. I have been working there for 24 years, teaching hospitality and restaurant services classes. And I almost always teach the wine tasting module because I am a sommelier. I studied sommelier in France in '98, a few years ago. And then I was working in France too. I stayed there. Oh yes, were you in France? Yes, I studied there. And then I stayed to work as a sommelier in a restaurant there in the Toulouse area. The idea is, have you explained yourself a little? More or less. How have you seen it? Well, at the moment, it seems intriguing, curious, and at the moment, I am somewhat skeptical. Good. I have done a lot of wine hunting, but I have never heard of this so well. Because no man, this is something that I consider to be a great asset. A healthy skepticism towards anything that good, that normally we have a tendency to take for granted according to our beliefs, our way of thinking. We are more or less aligned with one type of information or another. So we give more credit for free. Or for example, we give a person credit before the fact of getting on a stand. So, well, because we are good people and because it is a very human procedure, fortunately. However, I believe that a certain skepticism that does not lead to positions that are immobile is most convenient. In fact, I enact it with everything we do. And that is revealed because we postulate a series of possibilities and then we objectify them in everyday life. And this is nothing, because it is intended to be, as I said, a simple game, a way of trying to ensure that a person with your knowledge can evaluate if it occurs. Let's see if there is a variation in a wine that in principle does not exist. It will have no type of modification. At the level of oxidation, it will be the same wine, and I hope you will disagree with this, modified with an external element that would be assimilated to a thought. In fact, it is the inner light that we provoke through the work of a French doctor from 60 years ago, you know. The doctor. And when you heard, did you understand the procedure? How did you hear it? Yes, or I thought I understood it. It seems so curious and so strange to me that it surprised me. Yes, I understand more or less that it has something to do with natural light, that what it does is change the organoleptic properties of the wine. I find it difficult to believe it, but at the same time, I am very interested in seeing how this effect can be produced. Assuming it occurs, let you confirm it. Light really alters wine. We know that. So that surely alters both the color and the smell, flavor, of course, the time. I did this so quickly, I don't know, but curious. Well, but look, the joke is that obviously light alters the wine, but of course, natural light, exposure to a certain type of light, etc. But the idea is that it is our light, and immediately that can somehow transfer the information, subjective information. You know, for example, well, now exactly I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking. No, only you know that. You can tell me, well, look, now I think that it is this way, but only you know what is inside your head. It is something subjective. Because to translate that subjectivity in the form of light, coherent light, a light that in principle is for physics, but we postulate that it is more physical than, so to speak, because that interior light, not the ambient light, impacts with information about, in this case, the wine. It could be water or any other element. That's kind of the idea, not just the ambient light. No, that is the big change naturally, and that would be another topic. If wine could be preserved in light environments that respect the solar spectrum, it would be fantastic, because that is how the product was born, thanks to sunlight.
And a question, can it be modified? Is it modified with the inner light, you say? And this modification can be made, that is, can I get this wine that has not been, for example, in a barrel, to have aromas or flavors that are only produced when it is inside a barrel? Could that happen?
Yes, the answer is yes. As you see, you are the professional. You rule the experience. In principle, the idea would be that now we could verify that the change really occurs, because if not, the trip is no longer worth it. Segment it so that first, let's say you can say, man, there's been a change, and then guide that change. You're the boss?
Let's see.
Know yourself.
Don't you too?
Are we both going or not?
Yes, yes, yes.
I'm not going to say no.
What a wash. So we have here 2 cards to do 2 tastings. One, we start with the wine as it comes out of the bottle without doing anything. And we will aim to see. We have here notes of aroma, flavor, viscosity, acidity, and then some conclusion. It is a wine that is very intense. Both the color is a red cherry. It has some brown reflections that already indicate to us that the wine has gone through the rich, that it has aged, that it already has a certain evolution. The tears are present, and they also fall elegantly. They have a certain speed. They are not very thick either. This tells us that the glycerol, although present, is not going to be unpleasant. It will surely be well integrated. By seeing the wine, we can already know a little about what we are going to find.
This thing about the Lagrimero is, I had never paid much attention to it, man. I am much less an expert. I like it, and that's it, right? But there wasn't, I hadn't given him...
Well, it's important. It's important because glycerol is always there. In fact, when we see this, we see that they are falling in 2 tones. Some first tears have fallen, and now others are beginning to fall. Slower down.
How curious. Yes, it is true.
Well, glycerol is directly related to alcohol. They are not drops of alcohol, but they do indicate the amount of alcohol the wine has. Furthermore, it is a wine that is clean, crystalline, bright. It shows that it is well made. It does not have any suspended particles. We can talk about an elegant wine in a tasting. The nose is a little more complex because you can also notice the red fruits. You can notice a vegetal touch that it has there. It is surely from the Cabernet Sauvignon, which is what it contributes. And you can also notice that point of spices that come from aging in barrels. The barrel always provides an available special point.
I'm with the red fruits.
They are the tertiary aromas. The difference between this wine and a young wine, first we have seen the color, and the brown color already indicates to us that it has had some evolution. We don't know if it is good or bad, because it could also be that it has evolved negatively. On the nose, we already see that no, this is what the barrel has had. Then, the red fruits are combined, because it's not a very old wine either. but it has gone through the rich season, so that is already revealed by the amount of tertiary aromas, which is the set of aromas that are produced during the aging of the wine.
That vegetable is not.
We will surely find that vegetable a little more in the mouth, the green pepper that is called in catadarino.
Color is already a privilege.
We are going to try it, and we're going to do the return air. That is, we are going to inhale a little air to heat the wine so that the alcohols rise through the return air, rise to the nose as a support for the aromas it has, and we're going to find and see. Let's see if what we have noticed on the nose is confirmed. It's a very interesting wine. It is interesting because also when you do a wine tasting in the gustatory part, you do have to try to differentiate what the attack is. That is, sensations that we receive at the beginning, as soon as we drink the wine, with the passage in the mouth when I have it, and the end, the memory that remains with us. And what's more, there are different sensations that we find. We find an attack, it is also pleasant, but a point of acidity immediately appears, astringency appears in the mouth, that dryness in the mouth that persists until the end. In fact, the simple ones are a little dry once we have already drunk the wine.
This one you would say is, to me, this seems a little astringent.
But the astringency is there. Let's see. They are not strong wines like the traditional ones, which were drier, harsher. This has a certain astringency that will also allow this wine to still be preserved. That stringency is what will make the wine live over time. Because it is balanced. We have alcohol. It doesn't bother us at all. It's there, you can feel the warmth in your mouth, you can tell it's there, but it doesn't bother you. It's not unbalanced.
No, it's not, no.
So it has alcohol, it has acidity, it has astringency, and everything is present, but nothing bothers. Everything is well integrated. It is what in wine tasting is called a red wine, a wine that is complete. Your turn?
But perhaps the issue would be to fill 2 glasses so that you do it. You see that it's the same wine. The oxygenation is obviously the same, that you cannot distinguish one glass from another. So that later, when we introduce a variable, if is that we introduce it following the line of Cesano-exerticism, you can assess or not whether there is any difference. And that is, fill the 2 glasses. If you feel like verifying once again that it is the same product with the same characteristics. And there we introduce a variable that is the possibility of impacting our subjective thought with or with an objective element. Our inner light with the wine, that with your experience and quality, you have objectified to be the same bottle, the same moment, the same tasting. So 2 glasses, if that's okay with you, so that you can say, this is in this glass, and in this glass, the same product, the same wine that we have been talking about, only mine and the stars know. No, I in the end with, I think that we should give them a tribute and not, if until now, you are in charge.
Until now.
You're the boss. Should be. Very good. Now we introduce the variable. So that you don't know about which cup we can introduce the variable or not, you should not observe the dithering. You should not observe the cups. How do we tour? Well, they mixed. The point is that you don't see so as not to see what cup we act on. Very good.
Okay.
We drank both glasses. It is the same wine. There has been no type of interaction. We have only moved them, and we are going to... I'm guiding you. This is strange. Seeing you like this from the back, it's strange.
Hago una...
I provoke stimulation. The idea is that it goes... I cause neurological stimulation using a special light to generate what we call a retinal persistence image. It is a phosphene that, according to Dr. Lefebure's work, is directly related to our emotional and subtle brain activity. And then I'm going to try to externalize it, to literally place it on one of the glasses, only on one of them.
Y entonces, bueno, pues...
The idea is that you can then assess whether any change has occurred or not. Yeah?
Yes, I understood.
Bueno, yo...
Right now, I'm generating stimulation with a special light that we use.
Bueno,
It is a light that does not impair vision and also causes the stimulation that we know is correct, so that these processes of emotional, cognitive, and subtle effervescence can be carried out. Normally it is 20 or 30 seconds. It's more than enough.
okay.
I have generated that stimulation. I'm guiding you in the experience, do you think? And I'm going to choose one of the glasses. What I do at this moment is place my inner light, a supposed inner light, on one of them.
En una de ellas.
I am moving the glass a little, bringing it closer to my view, but not physically acting with it, at least in an apparent way, but subjectively. Well then, let's play.
Sí.
There has been no interaction. We have an audience that can attest to them.
Sí.
To play. Let's go there.
Everything should be the same.
Let's see, I do notice, I don't know if it's because I've solved it or not, but I notice this wine with more aromatic intensity than this one. I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but I notice it more strongly.
More shine.
As for color, I don't see it in terms of color. I don't see him losing the differences. However, in aroma, yes. In fact, I find this one easier. Flatter, more muted, more linear, and I find this more alive. It has not lost essence. It has not lost quality. The wine in this encounter more intense, effervescence, brilliance. Would it be well described? The thing is that brightness is used more for the visual part.
Oh yeah, of course. It is part of professional language.
Ya, no.
Wouldn't it be the shine that it would be more aromatic intensity in terms of this than until now? What we could objectify with your experience is that this
Está,
They are different.
Yeah,
es correcto.
it's right. And this one is different in it is not the same wine. Like it's not the same wine. We could there are nuances between one and the other.
There are nuances. And
Uh,
it's not the same wine. It could be from the same family.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
But one would be a cousin and the other would be a brother because it's not the same. It is the same branch. But this is simpler. We are on the topic of visual and the fatigue phase. Here, I find we are on the topic of visual. And in the first phase, here I find a little more wood.
We move on to the next phase.
Do you reaffirm yourself? Do you mean more? Yes, because in addition, this wine, which I found simpler at first, is perhaps a little more acidic compared to this one, which I find a little more astringent. I find the tannins more present, that strength in the mouth, that persistence that lasts, that makes the wine a little stronger. Just as in aroma, I saw this one as having more power of aroma. Because as for the body too, the body is much more aroma. This wine is interesting.
Has it dropped in degrees?
I think not. I think it'll be the same alcohol content because you can see the alcoholic point in this one and in this one. But it is true that in terms of balance, this wine is not more balanced.
There is a difference.
There is a small difference. It is not notable. They are not two different wines that have nothing to do with each other. But it is true that there is a small change, a slight change between one and the other.
Would you say that if you were given these wines to taste, that it is not the same wine?
I would say not. I don't know if it's because you've convinced me or because, well, you don't know. But I do see that they are.
You don't know what it is.
No, but I see.
You don't know what it is. You were on your back.
Yes, I could say that they are the same grape varieties, but worked in a different way, or evolved in different barrels, time.
We could agree with the same family, but different kinship.
It could even be different vintages that were the same winery, that each year the wine comes out different with the same varieties.
That could occur. That is, you could say someone could, or you yourself could say, for example, this is older, it's flatter because it has more.
Yes, because it is made in a different way, of course. If a year has had more water, which we mentioned before, if a year has had more rain, the wine will not be as intense as this one. This could be a rainier year than this one. It could be a variant that alters.
Well, on which we have projected the inner light is this. Without any type of physical action, simply, what I have done has been the same as now, projecting on the cup, but the same thing that I am doing now. Only the previous time when your back was turned, what I did was cause mental stimulation through that special light. At the same time, emotional and subtle, but subtle. You understand? What we cannot see. And that's it. Everyone there, you know? And I have impacted it with that inner light in the product, in the wine. It could be another element, it could be food, it could be water, it could be What happens is that it could be a person. What happens is that it could be a pathology in a person. That is, it could be a photographic plate. We have photographs of that. What happens is that we have done it in wine, and we have the privilege of having you here to be able to objectify that something has really happened without any type of physical interaction. In the same way that I told you at the beginning, Kaya, I don't know what you're thinking. Only you know that. You're thinking about this guy who's explaining it to me.
¿no? O sea,
It is inside your head. It is subjective. However, I see that you're touching the glass. For me, this is subjective. They are different things. I have transferred that subjective element in the form of light to the wine so that we have changed according to your criterion, not according to mine. This is what I have done. That said, in a second phase that we had commented at the beginning, we could refine it based on your conclusions. So to say, well, look, this one is more effervescent, more alive, more rounder, whatever, more astringent. Well, try to direct that subjective impact towards gaining astringency in this wine. But what is really surprising, I think we can agree that this is the case, is that without any type of physical action we have changed. And a professional like you with all these years of experience has objectified a physical element. And in this case, the wine is very interesting.
and
You understand?
Yes, yes, of course. It is clear that this wine compared to this one, with your action, what we have achieved is that this one, for example, when we notice it, we notice that they are two different wines, and that in a tasting we say that this one has greater astringency and it retains greater acidity than compared to this other one. So yes, there has been a change. It's clear what you think of this. Very curious. Very strange. Strange, yes. Because yes.
Because you are now, you're thinking, I won't be.
uh,
It's just that I think, it's just that it's me. It cannot be true. The camera, of course, noticed something, but it is true that it is a wine. It is the wine, but it changes nuances. We have not changed wine. I don't notice that this wine is different from this one. I see that it is the same, but there are nuances. This is much softer. It is much lighter. It's a lighter wine. So if this is so, I think so. Maybe this is true for wines that have excess astringency, which happens because perhaps the wine has been pressed too much and the skins with the woody part have been pressed in excess. And then that transmits a certain bitterness to the wine, that tannicity that sometimes bothers, because perhaps it can be eliminated in some way from somewhere or softened.
Of course, in fact, the conditional would not exist because that seems good to you. Now, I'll show you how. I'll send you one of the lamps if you find it interesting. From the lamps we use and you see it, you don't have to believe anything or assume anything. Simply action, reaction, cause, effect. The conditional does not exist. This is going to be like this. If you do not give it a direction, I have not given it a direction. I have simply posed, that is, just as I touch you physically, well, I have physically touched the wine with my light, but I haven't given him an address. So you already have this. This is going to happen like this. With a bottle, you can do it perfectly.
That is, you can direct the light at this wine as it is to change something towards your personal taste. For example, a little more sugar in this wine, a little more sweet sensation.
Also, when you land without orientation, normally from my experience, we do it like this, like now, playing, but if possible, more playful in a course to see that really with phosphene, with the inner light, there is something more than interesting, you know? Coherent, structured, serious, award-winning, because we are not talking about a group of friends who play with wine and do little magic tricks. It is the work of a doctor for 60 years. Then you can settle, as we have done now. And then normally, in my experience, what happens is that the wine becomes something less. I call it with less effervescence, less alive, more stable, flatter, yes. As if you took something away from it, yes, more flat. This is my experience in the letters I have done with professionals. That said, second step, play with orienting it. That is, raising it in alcohol level, raising it in astringency level, etc., etc. Well, you will lower the astringency just by sitting, but yes, with sugars, with fruits, yes, I have managed to do that, but I have arrived. It does not mean that it's a complex process, it is the simplest. You will see. If you say okay, I'll send you a lamp. It will be a privilege for me to share with you, and you play to see if it can help you in your work. That's what it's all about.
I think it would be interesting from my work as a teacher when you teach wine and the evolution of wine, which is one of the things you see when you go on a wine hunt. Just like we play with little bottles of aromas and try to recognize aromas, well, let's see how.
Well, it would be absolutely definitive because we would be talking about, above all, the fundamental concept from my point of view is that we are accustomed to the subjective ones. That is, for example, the concept of love. You can't buy a kilo of love. I don't know where. If you tell me where, I'll try. Or a kilo of affection, a kilo of empathy. That does not exist. This is subjective and will depend on the person. It will depend on the moment or the thoughts. Well, yes, there are schools, the thought forms, but all of that, it lacks solidity, even though there are very interesting scientific works on the matter. But in practice, in something as obvious, as simple, and as fast as this, I don't know anything that is inside the head, and that without any type of action physics that manifests itself externally, can modify a reality foreign to the element that causes the externalization. That is to say, in other words, if you in this glass, which has been the one that has really changed, the wine that is contained in this glass, think that it's going to change and become something flatter, nothing is going to happen. On the other hand, if not me, because it is special, you yourself, when I teach you how to generate your inner light, you project your light. There you are physically acting on the wine. And then it's going to happen. And that is not a curiosity. That is something spectacular. For example, you will remember in the development of the photographs, before it was done analogically, well, those plates, we have photographs of what we have just done with the wine, projecting our light on a photographic plate and on the plate photographic to appear what you have in your head. That is equivalent to saying an elephant or the soccer shield of my favorite team appears on the photographic plate. Well, right now that's not a good idea. But whatever you have in your head, transferring it to the photographic plate is equivalent. Spectacular from my point of view. I don't know how you see it, but really...
Wow.
Or over the water, you see? Over the water. What happens is that we should do a slightly more exhaustive analysis of the water to see how the composition has changed. It's not as obvious as with wine. Wine is more plastic.
You could tell the wine if the alcoholic gravity changes.
Oh, yes, only you have a protocol for that, which is a horror movie. I thought it was simple, but measuring the gravity of the wine has fabric and all that equipment. But hey, you have it at your disposal. And yes, of course, obviously clear. Look at how long it has been. 20 seconds, 30 seconds, not clear. Imagine a 2-3 minute orientation, you know? Modulating to look for this tone, that one, of course. For example, the memory of the plant memory that you mentioned, of course not me. I don't have that quality, and for me it will be very difficult to transfer that, but not for you, because you have a mental image, a form of thought that relates that very clearly to your perception. Taste of vegetables. So that transferred, paired with your inner light and placed in the wine, is going to make it much easier to transmit and impact that on the product, in this case on the wine. Yes, I see it, of course. Well, it's very, very interesting, very, very interesting. It seems to me at this point, look, we have been there for 60 years, a lot of courses, a lot of countries, a lot of experiences in schools, in companies, in whatever you want, in holistic and allopathic therapists, in short. And work in complex fields on the side if you want, subtle. But for me, this point, the understanding that when one generates an inner light through this special lamp and can externalize it, this point for me is the most important of everything we do in these 60 years, these 50, and I don't know how many books. It is a spectacular work. This point for me is to understand this, and I understand that it is not easy, and that is why the experience. Hey, I really appreciate your time.
Thanks to you for discovering this world, which was totally unknown to me.